Okay, great. Thank you all so much for being here and welcome to YVSC's internship closeout presentations for this fall. My name is Dakota Dolan and I'm the internship program manager as well as the Forest Resilience Projects manager with YVSC. And I'm so excited that this day is here to finally share the work of our 4 amazing interns that we had over this fall term. These 4 individuals started with YVSC and joined our team in the beginning of September, and they've been working for 12 weeks on their projects. At the onset of their time when they were first hired, they were paired with a staff mentor, and together they worked on a project concept that addressed one of our 5 main priority areas, which include waste diversion, resilient land and water, community education and engagement, energy, and transportation. And each of the projects that you see today are completely unique and different from one another. Each intern comes with their own set of skills, curiosities, and ambitions, and we try to match that with the needs of our organization in this moment. So we find it to be a very special and fulfilling experience for these interns that will hopefully push them forward in their careers in sustainability. So before we jump into the presentations themselves, I will have our executive director, Michelle Stewart, come up and just say a few words before starting.
Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for being here on this very important celebration of phenomenal work. This is for YVSC staff and board. It's one of our favorite days of the year. It's a day when we get to really hear inspiration about the hard work that our interns have been doing. I will say that this group of 4 has been very stellar. So get ready to be really inspired and impressed. And this is what the work is. It's about coming together and really bringing our skills and capabilities, ideas, and then bringing them into the service of opportunities and actions on the ground. So Cody gave such a great overview of our internship program, but for YVSC, this is a very important investment that we're making. We really see this as being an important part of empowering the next generation of leaders that all of us need. And so we really look forward to hearing from you and learning from you. And we just really appreciate you being here. And our future leaders are those that we really look to as current partners in this work, and then of course, carrying the torch forward. I would like to acknowledge Cody's amazing leadership with the program. So our internship program, we do have a staff individual who is really serving as a primary point person, a mentor, a confidant, and someone that the interns can turn to for support and ideas as they continue to develop their projects. And Cody devotes a good portion of her time to that work and does such a nice job. So I think you'll really see that fingerprint of her leadership in the program today too, as you hear the presentation. So thank you, Cody, for all you do to lead the program. And before we get going, I just want to underline the importance of this type of work. I think particularly now at this time, the national trend, the message that is being told across the state and the nation is really the importance of investing locally and working together in the climate space. Everything that we do on the ground to reduce emissions, everything we do to build resilience actually makes a very important difference. And so as we hear your projects today, I want all of us to really keep in mind and be empowered by the investments that we are all collectively making in local actions on the ground at a time that it really, really matters. So without further ado, I want to welcome all of our interns. And again, thank you, Cody. It is such a pleasure to have you be part of the organization for the past 12 weeks. And as interns, you now get to have a lifetime relationship with us. So it's always really fun because we get to keep in touch with the interns, and we know that many of them will go on to great things. So thank you all. Enjoy the presentations, and thank you so much, Cody.
Thank you so much, Michelle. And without further ado, we'll start with our first presenter, Rachel King.
Hi, my name is Rachel, and I am one of the Resilient Land and Water interns here at YVSC. My project was focused on community engagement in terms of connecting local businesses to natural climate solutions projects and forest resilience projects volunteer opportunities. You can go to the next slide, please. A little bit about me. I'm originally from coastal Southern California, and I moved out to Steamboat to attend CMC, which was originally only supposed to be for 1 semester, but now I've gotten my outdoor education associate degree and am in the final stages of my ecosystem science and stewardship degree. Other than school, I also work for Big Iron Coffee and a rental shop up for the mountain. Living here, I've learned to love all the new hobbies I've gotten to try in this town, like backpacking and snowboarding, and my appreciation for the outdoors is one of the biggest reasons I am in this field. You can go to the next slide. I would also like to say a special thank you to my mentors, Cody, Ryan, and Michelle, who have been kind, compassionate, and knowledgeable in allowing me to be a part of this YVSC world this fall. Next slide, please. Okay, so just a little framing for my project. It stems from volunteers being part of the workforce for projects YVSC puts on in the field specifically. Both natural climate solution projects and forest resilience projects focus on doing restoration work in some critical ecosystems in Routt and Moffat counties to build a resilient landscape that can respond to a changing climate, and even potentially aid in mitigating its effects. Retree is one project that has been going on for 15 years and focuses on riparian restoration by planting trees along the Yampa River that will eventually shade the river and provide habitat for other organisms. Other projects include wet meadow restoration in California Park, which is pictured on this slide, and seedling surveys. As these projects have grown, there's a need for more volunteers. We've already worked with places like Alpine Bank, Steamboat Resort, Colorado Outdoor Industry, some local schools, and so many more. So Ryan and Cody wanted to create an organized database in which businesses they could contact regarding volunteer opportunities, especially knowing that there are some businesses that will pay their employees to do volunteer hours. I personally love that this project is connecting the community with the place they live. Next slide, please. The main objectives of this project are to connect local businesses to resilient land and water volunteer opportunities, which comes with facilitating team building within the community, designing an organized database of these contacts that can be used in the future, and increasing outreach and engagement of local businesses. Next slide, please. To reach out to these businesses, we decided the best mode of communication would be email in order to include all the information needed and be able to stay in contact with the people who are interested in the future. So the first thing I did was create some email templates to send out to businesses. I wrote 2 different emails for businesses that are involved in the Colorado Green Business Network and those that are not. This is because CGBN businesses are going to have different incentives for volunteering, as they can get different recognition levels if they achieve different landmarks, some of which is to include volunteer hours. The idea of the emails was to lay out a basic background, information of YVSC, and the different volunteer events that we do, and to list out the different levels in which these businesses could get involved. The next natural step was to determine these levels of involvement. We wanted to list for these businesses so there are clear categories in terms of how they can participate, depending on the amount of time or financial ability they are willing to provide. We decided on 3 categories listed here: advocacy, sponsorship, and group volunteer. Advocacy is just encouraging staff members to participate in volunteer events. This means the businesses would receive information about the different volunteering opportunities with YVSC, and they would tell their staff mentors about the events to participate in on their own time. The next category would be sponsorship, which could be anything from simply donating money, providing food and drink for an event, or providing coupons to be handed out to volunteers at an event. In exchange, YVSC would showcase the brand logo at the event. Finally, there's group volunteer, which is where the whole staff will go out in the field for a day or half a day and exclusively participate in a volunteer event. The number of volunteers would depend on the event, but this would definitely require more than 1 or 2 people willing to participate. You can go to the next slide. Then we had to figure out the next way to engage businesses. At first, I was just going to have them respond to the email if they were interested, but overall that would take too many steps and too much time. So I decided to create a survey to put directly into the email so businesses would have an easy way to indicate they were interested and give us all the information we needed in one step. Next, we had to find all the emails to the businesses we wanted to reach out to. There was already a contact list for CGBN, so I just had to make a list of businesses that were not associated with them. I did this by going on the Steamboat Chamber website and looking at the business directory. The goal was to prioritize businesses that were more likely to want to get outside or are capable of closing shop for a day or a half day to spend in the field. But ultimately, we are hoping to get as much engagement as we can. You can go to the next slide. So these were some of the final steps of my project. Although we are still hoping to get more responses, so far we have gotten a few businesses that are listed up here. There is currently a follow-up email being sent out to the contact list to try to incentivize more responses. This spreadsheet will hopefully be used in the future for an organized database of business contacts. Then on the right is a flyer I designed breaking down the different levels of involvement for volunteering with the survey linked on the QR code as an easy one-step process to get more business contacts. The flyer can be used at any future YVSC event or could be put around town to gather more engagement. I originally designed a flyer to use at the Winter Expo, that was this week, to pitch our engagement ideas face-to-face with businesses in town. You can go to the next slide. So this was at the Winter Expo a few days ago as the last part of my project, which is an exposition of businesses in town. The idea was to use the flyer I designed to pitch the volunteering to businesses face-to-face. Here, I was able to go to as many booths as I could and ask if they were interested in volunteering as a workforce. I gave background information on YVSC if needed, and if they were interested, explained how they could get involved and encouraged them to take the survey. I thought this was a great exercise in learning how to elevator pitch and speak to the needs of people we were having and dealing with rejection. I found face-to-face interaction to be a lot more rewarding because people did seem genuinely interested. You can get to the next slide. In total, we ended up reaching out to 274 people. So far, we have had 5 responses via email: Billow, Lift Up, Peace Love Pet Care, Northwest Colorado Health, and Boomerang Sports Exchange, all of which shows the advocacy level of involvement, except Boomerang, who opted for sponsorship. This gives me an email response rate of about 2% in the first round. This week, we sent out a follow-up email to non-openers and are going to put a post up on social media to hopefully encourage more engagement. At the Winter Expo, I was able to speak to 20 businesses, 2 of which responded to the survey: Stars and Winter Sports Club, both choosing advocacy. This gave me a 10% in-person response rate. So despite being able to reach out to less businesses in person because of time restraints, the response rate was actually higher. I think this is because face-to-face interactions are always more personal and they make engagement basically harder to ignore or just put aside. You can go to the next slide. So from my project, I think it's super important that YVSC continues to stay involved and relevant in the community by getting people involved that are outside the environmental world, because it really does help create a more resilient landscape by fostering a community that really does care about the land that supports them. I also think face-to-face advocacy is going to be super beneficial moving forward because it creates a personal connection with people that makes it easier for them to want to get involved. I'm optimistic about the prospects of community-based volunteer events in the future and am excited to see what's to come. You can go to the next slide. In addition to this project, I also attended a few different YVSC related events that really helped my understanding of the contribution YVSC makes to the community. I was able to go to a few YVSC community meetings, as well as a climate action plan board meeting that were interesting in understanding the processes of how action happens. I also had the opportunity to set up and participate in a retreat event, which was super rewarding. I recommend everyone volunteer at a retreat event next year. It was also interesting to get a glimpse into the field-like work that YVSC puts on, as well as get firsthand experience volunteering that these businesses I'm reaching out to will be doing. Finally, along with other YVSC staff members and interns, I helped set up and work for the annual YVSC soiree, which is like a thank you event to all the partners that worked with YVSC this year. This event was inspiring because it showed how many people really do want to be involved and doing good for the environment and the community. You can go to the next slide, please. Personally, I have learned a lot in the last 10 weeks. Since this is my first job in a more professional setting, a lot of my goals were around how to communicate professionally. Since a lot of my project was communication-based, I really did get to practice this a lot, which I think was super valuable moving forward. Additionally, I got to be a part of making a plan and an idea become a reality, which is really inspirational. As a college student, I feel like I have done a lot of planning and talking about a lot of cool ideas, but not as much implementation or action. So this experience was beneficial in showing how that process goes down. I also really valued the different people like the YVSC staff and other guest speakers we were able to speak to along with the course of this internship that allowed me to understand the range of this field and the different potential sectors I could get involved in. Finally, I'm just really proud of Steamboat and other mountain towns for the progress they have made in prioritizing the environment and working to create more sustainable infrastructure. Yes, you can get to the next slide. These are just some of the guest speakers that Cody brought into our internship meetings for us to see. Just a lot of very inspiring people, especially in the realm of the election. You can go to the next slide. I would also just like to acknowledge Sally Caravu, Ashley Dean, and Abby Vandergraff, who all helped me put together this project as well. You can get to the next. Does anyone have any questions? Yeah.
I have a question. Great job.
Thanks.
Great presentation. It sounds like you really demonstrate the value of those in-person connections. I'm curious, one of the things that we talk about, the value of having, being a regional hub for kind of work and the value of really working with the community and finding different ways for people to be involved and participate. I'm curious from your experience having participated in the setup for Retreat and then the ways that you talk about volunteer opportunities or ways to get involved with the businesses. What are some of the ways that you communicated the benefits of participating or the benefits that you personally found by participating in those place-based projects that are good for them?
I feel like it was a lot of like team building. Obviously, if you are getting involved in field work, you are going to have to rely on other people to know how to do that. And so I think that's a big benefit of volunteer work. Also, I feel in terms of like my personal reward found in it is just knowing that you're doing something that's going to be around for a while and is making a difference and maybe keeping this valley the way it is potentially for longer than maybe if not we put that work in. So I think that's very exciting and I would like to preach that to other people as well. Yes.
Then you see your next steps from here?
Personally, my next steps, I really love the idea of community engagement and engaging just different peoples and cultures in like the environmental world to really understand how we can make a difference here in the best way possible. So I think that was really valuable in my presentation, is just knowing how to connect people. Yeah. Anyone else? Yes. Sure. I did. I did call a few people to get their emails. The thing with the calling was basically time restrictions, because that would have taken a lot of time. And with other obligations that I honestly had this past fall, it wouldn't have been very helpful for me personally. But I think it would be very beneficial in terms of engaging people because you get more of that personal interaction. Yeah. Anyone else? Thank you guys. Thanks for listening.